I don't have a lot of talent in my family. I think it started with my granny. And
but you're preaching.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Now this is the Advent, start of the December, and what this represents is in Latin. Advent translates into the coming, and so we're in the coming, the birth of Christ, and we light this one. The first candle represents hope, and I think right now we all need a lot of hope in our life, and hope is where we trust in God. And we trust with the hope that He's going to fulfill everything that we deserve and need. Not want, but need. And that's where a lot of us get confusion at, is what we think we need. We want a lot of things and think it's a need, and it's not. But this candle right here for the first week, and like I say, this is hope. All right. Now, get your Bibles out and open up to 2 Samuel. I'm going to continue here. This is where Absalom had just come back from being banished by David. Or not banished, but David reaches out to him after Joab approaches him approaching with a parable. And this is in 15. Now, I remember I got these two lines together. Yeah, okay. Now, the thing about Absalom is, if you read back in 14, I don't ask you to read that now, but if you go back and read it, it talks about where he is a perfect specimen that God has created. He has no blemishes from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. He is a very beautiful man. And he's also apparently a very hairy man too. And at this time, hair meant a lot of things, because every year he would shave his hair off, and it weighed 200 shekels, which is about 5 pounds of hair that he would grow every year, that he would shave off. To me, it sounds like he's kind of vain by weighing all this hair, but anyway, Absalom here, like I say, he had killed his brother, and this is where he finally got back. Joab talks David to let him come back. Well, now Absalom, when he comes back, he's verse 1 of 15. It says, in the course of time, Absalom provided himself with a chariot and horses with 50 men, and to run ahead of him. He would get up early and stand by the side of the road leading to the city gate. Okay, let me back up. Now, at this time, just him having a chariot going through Jerusalem is kind of a sign that he's showing power. And he's leading up to something, okay? He's leading up to something. And now, not only that, but have power, but now he has 50 men running in front of the chariot. Now, as we know, a chariot can outrun men, but he's having them running just to show his authority. And David should have caught on to this, but now it says, whenever anyone comes with a complaint to be placed before the king for a decision, Absalom would call out to him, what town are you from? He would answer, your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel. Then Absalom would say to him, look, your claims are valid and proper, but there is no representative of the king to hear you. And Absalom would add, if only I were appointed judge of the land, then everyone who would have his complaint or case could come to me, and I would see that he gets justice. Now, what's he doing here? He's campaigning. Isn't this what people do when they go on the campaign trail? They start going to these places. They ask them what problems they have in their town. Oh, unemployment rate's down. Well, you know, if I was your governor, or if I was your president, or if I was your mayor, or whatever it is, I would bring jobs in. And what about the water project here in Quanah? We could make a lot of efforts here. Like, we need these roads fixed, right?
Yep.
Amen.
Anybody driven down a corner road would know we need it fixed. And he could come in and say, hey, well, first thing I'm going to do is fix these roads. I'm going to fix these roads because whoever's doing it right now can't take care of it. It's not big enough, they're not big enough to focus on what really needs to be taken care of. And this is what David's doing, is he's undercutting, Absalom's doing to King David. He's undercutting because he's catching people right when they come into the city. They come into the city and he tells them, hey, what's your problem? And they tell him, oh man, that sounds like you got a good case. Well, if I was a judge here, I would rule in your favor. And we know he's promising something he can't do. It's a bait and switch. Because you can't solve everybody's problems. Because you know as well as I do, one problem, you're going to solve it for one person, and the other person is going to complain about it. Kind of like the school here, when they wanted to build that gym over here. Boy, all the problems in the corner came out, didn't they? Fix the roads, fix the water lines, fix this, fix that. We don't need to spend $19 million on a gym. See, that shows, and you can't please people. And that's what Absalom's doing, is he's lying to people saying he can do this. Now, and he's deceiving who? David. Now, I'm going to jump over here real quick. Keep your marker there. But I'm going to turn to Proverbs chapter 6. And I'm going to show you how God feels about this. Give me amen when you get there.
Proverbs, what, I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Proverbs, what, 6?
6.
Okay. Amen.
All right. Proverbs 6, and start at 16. It says here, there are 6 things the Lord, what? What's that word? Hates. It don't say disturbed with, bothered by. It says hates. And this is the Lord hates. 7 that are detestable to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deceives wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up decisions amongst brothers. Dissents, among brothers. Now, is that what he's doing right here? A witness who pours out lies? That's what he's doing. He's lying to these people. And this is what God says, I hate people that do this. And see, the thing about deceptive people, or device people, is sometimes they believe that this is what God's put them here on earth to do. So like, oh, well, this he's an okay guy, but somebody can do so much better. Don't we know people like that just kind of don't give the character to anybody? Because we are so quick in this lifetime if we see somebody out every week going to the Boys and Girls Club, dedicating their time to the kids and everything, giving them resources and everything else, who talks about that? Nobody. But you take one person that's working for the Boys and Girls Club and they caught stealing, guess what? Woo, woo, it's going to be all over town, front page, all over Facebook. That's what people do. That's what decisive people, and sometimes decisive people think they got to inform everybody. Well, I'm not gossiping, but I think you need to know this. Because in some places they say, well, you know what? I'm going to use this in a different aspect. We need to pray for this person. They go to a church and say, well, I want to put this person in prayer list because we really need to pray for them because, they have this problem going on. They're real freely to tell you what the problem is and just saying, hey, what's that guy's name, John or whatever, pray for him? Yeah. Yeah. Instead of just pray for him, they're going to say, well, we got to add to it. Tell them why we got to pray for them. Yeah. And they believe God's hand's upon them. They believe that this is their, okay, Sean's up there preaching, Jackie can sing, Frank can work the computer. This is what God's talents are. But my talent is I need to inform everybody what's going on. And that's what, going back to Absalom now, and back to 2 Samuel, that's what Absalom's doing. He's trying to inform everybody by lies and deceive that his dad is not doing the job that he's supposed to be doing. Because Absalom's still mad because his dad never did nothing to his brother after he raped Tamar. And so Absalom's going, you know what? Maybe it's time for the king to step down and another king to step up. And that's what he's doing. He's promoting himself. And if you read on, it says, after he justice in 5, he says, also, whenever anyone approached him to bow down before him, Absalom would reach out his hand, take a hold of him, and kiss him. Absalom behaved in this way towards all of Israelites who came to the king asking for justice, so that he stole the hearts of the men of Israel. At the end of 4 years, some of y'all's Bibles will have 40, but I think this is after 4 years. I don't know how. I'm not a Bible scholar by no means, but some Bibles have 40. Absalom said to the king, let me go to Hebron and fulfill a vow I made to the Lord. While your servant was living in Geshur and Aram, I made this vow. If the Lord takes me back to Jerusalem, I will worship the Lord in Hebron. The king said to him, go in peace. So he went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent secret messages throughout the tribes of Israel. As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpets, then say, Absalom is king of Hebron. 200 men in Jerusalem had accompanied Absalom. They had been invited as guests and went quite innocently, knowing nothing about the matter. When Absalom was offering sacrifice, he also sent, well, I practiced this guy's name over in Ahithophel. Yeah, there we go, Ahithophel. Woo! I was practicing. Jennifer even heard me practicing. The Gilonite, David's counselor, to him in Gilead, his hometown. He also, the conspiracy gained strength, and Absalom his following kept increasing. Now, who's this guy? Ahithophel. Well, if you read back, Ahithophel was the dad of, I can't remember his name, Eliab, I think. Eliab was the father of who? Bathsheba. This is Bathsheba's grandfather, okay? Now, David didn't do nothing directly to Ahithophel, but what he did do was he took his granddaughter's husband and had him murdered and then stole his wife from him. Now, sometimes people do stuff like that to you and you get bitter about it. I mean, wouldn't you? It didn't hurt you directly, but if somebody did this to your family, you might hold a grudge to them. And right now, Ahithophel is doing that. He is going to David. So you know what? I've been with you, David. I've seen what you did. I know what you've done to my family. Absalom is telling me he's not going to do that. Absalom is telling me everything that I want to hear, right? Because that's what you do when you want somebody under your wings. You tell them everything that they want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. Now a messenger came to David. The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom. Then David said to all his officials who were in Jerusalem, come, we must flee, or none of us will escape from Absalom. Let me back up a second. Why did he go to Hebron? Why did Absalom go to Hebron? Okay. When David became king, Hebron, he made it the sacred city. He made it the holy city until he took over Jerusalem. When he took over Jerusalem, he ripped it right out of Hebron's mouth and put it over there in Jerusalem. Now tell me, wouldn't they have bitter feelings about this? If you made us a sacred city and all of a sudden you take it away from us and now give it to Jerusalem, wouldn't you be upset about that? And wouldn't it be so much easier for a man to come in and start telling you these lies and telling you, hey, you know, my dad did y'all wrong, but I'm not my dad. I'm not my dad. Look at me. I'm perfect. Perfect looks, perfect body. I mean, just a perfect individual. Like everybody, you know, because beauty sells. You know, they don't put ugly people to sell products. You don't see models and you know, you see them, I mean, what are they? 5'11", 6 foot tall, weighing 105 pounds. You know, that's what they want somebody to represent. And that's what Absalom's doing right now. God's created him that way. And he's using it to his advantage. Now, with the Bethel, it says, right here in the back of David said, "Come, we must flee, and none of us will escape from Absalom. We must leave immediately, or he will move quickly to overtake us and bring ruin upon us and put the city to the sword." The king's officials answered him, "Your servant are ready to go to do whatever our Lord chooses." The king set out the entire household following him, but left 10 concubines to take care of the palace. Why did David stay and fight him? Why wouldn't David stay and fight his son? I mean, it don't actually say, but to me, I mean, in my personal opinion, like I said, y'all can have your own personal opinion, but to me, it would make sense that he might want to give his son more time to think about what he's doing. Because keep in mind now, once this battle starts, somebody's going to die. You can't just have a tie in war. Somebody challenges you, and you have to put them to the sword, or else everybody's going to challenge you. So David now has a choice. Should I kill my son, or should I walk away and give him time? And that's what David chooses to do. To me, that, or just the fact that he didn't want to dishonor Jerusalem by fighting there, having a war there. So he's not like, you know what? He's not going to fight me if I'm not there, so I'll move out in the desert. And that's the thing. I'm going to wrap up real quick. But I encourage you to keep reading on to this. But one thing I want to point out, though, is David fell short of being a good father. Because the fact is I said this last week, I said this week before, but a good father admits that they make mistakes. They don't, and because your kids, when they grow up, if they do something wrong, you're like, what are you thinking? Like, well, you did the same thing. Haven't you ever heard that?
Yeah.
You ever heard your kids tell you, well, you did it too? But the thing is, you're supposed to tell them, yeah, I did. But I'm a stupid one. I'm a stupid one that made a mistake. And I learned from my mistake. And I don't want you to have to do that too. Because if you're going to follow all the mistakes I did in my lifetime, you better get a pen and paper out, because you got a list. Aren't they in there right? We've made a lot of dumb mistakes in our lifetime, and I don't want my kids to have to do every one of them. But I want them to know that what I did, I dealt with. I lived with that. I have to live with that inside my heart. And sometimes all it takes is a child to tell you the truth. Because, there was a lot of times where, I felt that I could have been a better dad to my kids. Because I chose to work. I chose to work 72 hours a week sometimes to work on holidays when I could be home with them. And, I put things in front of them, relationships and everything else, I put that in front of them, and I hurt them. And I feel bad about it, but guess what I can't do? I can't go back and change them. None of us can. None of us have a time machine that we can step inside and say, you know what, let's go back to this birthday that I could have done better on. We don't have that. But what we do have is this right here where we can ask for forgiveness and tell them that, hey, I'm sorry I hurt you. It's a point where my daughter now, I haven't told them in a while because it's been like several years back. They said, Dad, you were a good dad. Basically knew that I was just, as much as I could give them is what I gave them, because I didn't know the difference. I don't know what a good dad was. I never had one. But the fact is that David, he had a dad. And if you look back to when David was little, David's dad didn't really love him. Because remember, when Solomon came to David's house, or Jesse's house, and he asked, bring your sons in front of me. And Jesse brought 7 sons in front of him, and God shot all of them down. And he said, no, you have a son, where's he at? And Jesse's like, oh, he's out in the field with the sheep. Well, why wasn't he here with the other sons? Unless his dad didn't think that much of him. And that's the reason I think that affected David in his further in life. The one thing I want to end on, is I know going through life without a father, I never did do that. Because why? We all have a Father. We all have a Father above. It's just us turning towards Him and listening towards Him and opening our heart up to Him. If you would bow your heads. I always take this time to ask if anybody wants to